What if allyship is not just one big brave moment?
Maybe it is what we do every day.
Today, we're talking with Sandra Coker about people first leadership, mentorship, and the small workplace moments that either build trust or could break it.
Because people remember how you make work feel.
At the end of this episode, we are answering how do we practice everyday allyship at work in a way that actually helps all people rise.
Because nobody grows alone.
Hi, I'm Claude.
And I'm Jess.
We are corporate employees by day, entrepreneurs by night, and work besties for life.
Join us as we explore how work besties lift each other up, laugh through the chaos, and thrive together in every industry.
Work besties!
Sandra, you've built your work around helping organizations, putting people first, reducing that workplace drama, and unlocking human potential. For anyone meeting you for the first time, can you share a little bit about your story and what led you to create the Human Power Solutions?
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure to be with both of you. The energy has been wonderful so far in our conversations. So my story, I started off my career in hospitality way back in the day and really understood the value of employees and the people that are actually working with your clients and customers. So for me, the hostesses, the waitresses, all the people that were doing all the work were really more important than the management staff, to be honest with you. And I've really carried that theme pretty much throughout my career, through the businesses that I've owned and the people that I've led over the years.
So from your perspective, Sandra, when people hear that phrase, everyday allyship, what does that mean?
I work in a lot of organizations and there's a lot of silos where people are kind of doing, I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this. And no one really knows how what I do over here affects over here. Could be two steps away from me. And I really feel like the allyship piece is understanding what everyone does in the organization and being able to empathize with somebody's pressure that you may not see every day, but you could get a result of, or your pressure affects somebody else. So I think allyship really means to connect on that human level all across the organizations. I was working with a CPA firm and they had a bunch of cubicles and we did a team building thing and they were like, I've worked here for 20 years and I didn't even know that person.
Oh my goodness.
That's a problem.
You just answered how organization or companies can have this communication and have, to make sure that everybody knows each other through some activities. What else do you think people can, managers or even, organization can?
I think a lot of times it's kind of organizing, if you're in office, it is organizing lunches. It's pairing people up outside of the departments. My daughter works for a very large financial firm and that company really encourages the younger professionals to get out and meet people in other departments and kind of create some mentorship along that way. And she's been with this company for about 3 years, just landed a big promotion from someone she met early in her career that was a mentor to her. So I think it's really important for people to understand, get out of your box. And if your leaders aren't encouraging that, get out of the company. No, I'm just kidding. But
If only.
Yeah. And so that's really, I think, really what people need to do. And virtual wise, we actually just started. I have a global team and they're all over the world. We're all on different time zones, but we pretty much work in the same kind of hours. And we just established a cubicle channel. Basically what it is when you're working and it's interruptible work, it's something that you can work on and have conversations. You can go into this Teams channel called Cubicles and your team members could be in there. So you have a little bit of chit chat and you can go on mute when you need to do some work, but you can come off mute and have a little conversation. And we've been doing this for about 2 weeks and I can already feel my team really coming together and having these really cool conversations that aren't even really work related, which I love. So
that is awesome. That's such a good idea.
I popped in yesterday and two of the guys love cricket and they're like, what are you guys talking about? They're like, cricket. And I'm like, what's that? It's really pretty cool. You can feel that allyship is let's create that bond that we might be missing.
That
these
safe
days.
space that it's okay to connect.
So you said if the organization doesn't do that, doesn't promote that, what can an individual start doing and some little element to go after this allyship?
Just being human and connecting with people when you come in at the time clock, at the break room. If you're on Teams and you're virtual, a lot of nuances these days. But, maybe connecting with someone in your company through LinkedIn and saying, hey, we work at the same company. And can we have a virtual coffee? Or I'd like to get to know you. I'd like to get to know more people in the organization. I mean, individuals, we have so many ways to reach out now outside of the old norm that there's a lot of ways that people individually can reach out and start connecting and kind of creating that excitement and that allyship.
From your perspective, do you feel allyship is really the responsibility from the leader or from the whole organization, or a combination?
That's a good question, Jess. I would love to say it starts with the leaders, but honestly, we don't have the best leaders right now. They're under a lot of pressure. They're trying to get through the day. The technology overwhelm is real. So I think at this point, it really is on the individual, and hoping that the culture and hoping that the leader has formed that culture. But the leader's not going to direct that. They can direct the culture and what they want, but I think the individual really has to take responsibility for themselves.
So actually, we know that, there are KPIs and everything, and they all look at it like the leaders. Is there some KPIs, some ROIs that we see that, if you have those people really engaging and communication, that it really helps the company bottom line?
It's your retention, your onboarding, the speed in which they come up to their job. So your onboarding is really important, and getting people up to speed. If you have that culture of allyship, someone that's new, that's struggling, a person's going to come over and say, let me help you with that, versus a company that doesn't have that allyship. They're going to watch that person struggle and do their own thing. So it's the upskilling piece and it's the retention piece. And if you look at the overall employee engagement and the attrition, those are the numbers that you can look at. And once the attrition starts to go down and you start having that well-oiled machine, you've achieved what you want.
Sandra, you touched already on the example of your daughter and mentorship. Our theme this month is around mentorship as well as allyship. In your experience, do you feel mentorships has to be formal to be powerful?
No, I don't. I don't think you have to say, will you be my mentor? I think you need to create an atmosphere where you want to learn and where someone is willing to give you their knowledge, but also they're going to learn from you as well. I think throughout my career, even now, I have 3 mentors now as I'm scaling my business. I've never scaled a business before. So I've connected with people who have done what I'm looking to do. And I think if you're looking to scale or grow in your career and lift yourself up, it's finding those people that are where you want to be and connecting with them on LinkedIn, on Teams, and asking, would you be my mentor? Understanding, though, that a mentor gets as much, they're not a coach. They're going to get as much from you as you're going to get from them. So that person that understands that, I think, is very, very valuable.
Hold on. You said that the mentor will get as much. What would they get, the mentors? Because we always hear, it's the mentee that get the things and never on the mentor,
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer. There's coaching where, you're telling someone what to do, you're side by side and you're kind of doing the direction. I look at mentorship as being a two-way street, where if I mentor a lot of young business women, and I really learn about the struggles, what's going on. It's been a while since I've been a new business owner, so I'm kind of jaded. So I guess you could say. So it kind of helps me to kind of bring me back to when I was struggling and what things and the mistakes that I made in helping them to learn from that. But also, like, they can teach you things on resiliency or what they're doing in the new market. And there's so much change going on right now that I think as a mentor, you got to be open to someone's going to bring you an idea and you're going to be like, that's a great idea. I love that idea, so I think you've got to be open for both. If you're going to be a mentor but not want to learn, then you're a coach.
Yeah. I do think having a mentor outside of the company you're in is awesome. We found from our experience in the podcasting space, some of the best ways to find some type, either mentorship to bounce those ideas off of, are those Facebook communities, as well as attending conferences. You really find those
Oh, yeah.
like-minded individuals
Yeah.
that will have the real life experience to really walk you through things in a different.
Yeah. And when I look for a mentor at this point, I'm looking for someone who's above, like, has done what I'm looking to do,
Yeah.
not at my level, and I think that's something that people often don't. They play in their same circle, and they
Oh,
all
yeah,
stay
good
in this
point.
circle, you know?
Yeah, try and have somebody where you might have some type of ability to help influence them in a different way, but
Yeah.
that you can attain something. So, from a mentorship perspective, it sounds like a little bit more of what your perspective, Claude, was. Like, how do you, when you are, like, on the flip side, when you are now the mentor of people, because we also have those on our community that are more in the middle management persona, when you are reached out from somebody to be a mentor, how do you help them without it turning into the coaching or the micromanagement aspect?
Yeah, I ask them what they're looking to get out of it, how much work they're willing to put in to the relationship, if they're committed to meeting, on a regular basis. So it's not a kind of an ad hoc thing. I'm very pretty structured in where I spend my time. And the
Okay.
other thing is I ask them what they've done before and what kind of initiative they've taken to get to where they are today. And that helps me to kind of vet if someone is looking for a coach, because that's sometimes they don't know what they're looking for. So if someone's like, "Oh, no, I tried this and this and this, and I do this and I do that," and they're pretty innovative, then they're gonna be a great person for mentorship because they're a self-starter. If someone's like, "Well, I'm really not sure," then they're looking for, and which is fine, but I
Right.
wouldn't be the right fit for that.
So you said earlier one of the difference between mentorship and coach is mentor mentorship is the mentor should also learn something. Is there
Yeah.
any other difference between a coach and a mentor?
I think there's really for a mentor, um, there's really no end date. So with coaching, there's a 6 month or a 12 month or something like that. But I think if you're always adding value to each other, then there is no end date for that. So there's no structured program. It's bouncing ideas, it's innovating and things like that. One of my mentor, when I first started this business 6.5 years ago, I met my one of my mentors now, right at the beginning, and he's been with me all the way through. I don't talk to him all the time. We met regularly when I first got started. I was ramping up, and now we meet probably once a month or so, and
Got
have
it.
conversations. Yeah, yeah, and he calls me for my opinion on stuff. He's like, "What do you think about this?" So it's a cool relationship.
Yeah.
So I think
So
the
you
end date.
and you can see that from what you're saying is that actually the relationship will change, might change
Yes.
over time, where it becomes, and that's where my question next comes, it becomes almost more a peer mentorship
Mhm.
than before senior mentorship. So explain to us how important also is a peer mentorship.
I think the peer mentorship is very important because we all come into work with a very different lens and we all come in with with different personal situations. So I might think about something or experience something in one way, and someone else might be in the same meeting and experience it completely different because of
Yeah.
the lens in which we're here. So I think having these open conversations and being able to say, that was my experience and that was my experience, and talk about and having those conversations around those experiences. It helps people to kind of take the drama out of life, and out of the whole
Yeah.
thing where you can I'm a facts versus feelings kind of girl. So, sometimes people go in and they'll experience a meeting that might be heated or having tension and they feeling destroyed, like they just attacked me. And someone else is going to have that same meeting with that tension and be like, oh, this is just a really difficult situation. Right. And they're going to come out with the facts. So if that peer can say, actually, they weren't attacking you. Here's just the situation and the facts. So I think having those kinds of conversations is just big.
That's g I love that. That's a great way of, saying that.
Yeah, it kinda touches on one of the things that attracted me to chat with you, Sandra, too, is I saw one of the areas that you do focus on is reducing drama in workplace environments,
Yeah.
and you kinda just gave a great example of how to leverage your peer or even maybe your work bestie
Yes.
to help with that. What does create the most drama inside teams from your
Lack of
perspective?
communication,
Lack of
communication
communication?
styles. Yeah. I'm working with a team right now, and I'm just completing one-to-ones with 10 people, and they're all on the same team. And they're fractured, and it's because of their different communication styles. They're coming from different backgrounds. They all communicate differently. Some people get offended. Other people like, buckle up, buttercup. You know, I'm doing all these individual things to bring everyone together for 4 hours to have a very honest conversation. Like, we have different generations in the workplace. People do experience things differently. Our Gen
Right.
Zs are not our Gen Xs. I'm a buckle up buttercup kind of girl, but I know that not
They're
everyone's gonna
not.
do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've got a couple of Gen Zs. I tiptoe around
get it.
them. Yeah. So that's really what it is. It's just kind of understand that people communicate differently, and just because someone might be abrupt, it just means that they got a lot going on, and it's not necessarily directed at you. So let's just take the feelings out of it and stick to the facts. You can still be friends and coworkers and colleagues, but you know, that drama is there's no reason for it,
So,
honestly.
Sandra, in that perspective, so to your point, there are different expectations of how to communicate and engage. How do you help coach when there is such a variety of different personality traits to ensure healthy conflict versus
Yeah.
unhealthy?
Yeah, at first it's kind of calling out the communication styles and
Yeah.
having people understand where people are coming from. One of the exercises I absolutely love to do, and then I'm going to do it with this team, so don't tell them because it's at the it's coming up, but it's your first job. It's your job journey. And so it's so
Uh,
interesting when you start with your first job, like everyone writes down with the first job and they do their career subsequently. 9 times out of 10, people were dishwashers, waitresses, like they all had that same kind of first job kind of thing. And we talk about how each job and the managers of each job kind of shaped how they lead. And we
yeah.
start talking about those kinds of things. And it just starts to break down some of those barriers, and it gives them some common ground. Or they're like, "I had a boss like that too." And, it just opens up that conversation, and that's all we're trying to do is break down those barriers and get them to, "I'm a human being, you're a human being."
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like creating that safety
Yeah,
or safe environment for people to
yeah,
realize everybody's got different perspectives, but
Hmm.
at the same
yeah,
time, we've all dealt with the same thing.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
From a communication standpoint, knowing that everybody does have these different communication styles, how can somebody who is direct still be their authentic selves without damaging or causing maybe conflict within the rest of the group?
You've gotta have a lot of self-awareness. That EQ, isn't a soft skill, it's a real skill that you really need to learn. And
Okay.
it's when we're communicating with each other, it's not really about how we wanna communicate, it's how it's gonna be received.
Received.
And
Okay.
that's the bottom line. So even someone that's abrupt, I can be pretty abrupt. I check myself a lot, like, who am I talking to? Do I need to take a beat and a breath and come out with whatever it is that I need to come out with, still conveying my message, but without whereas I've got one team member who's just as abrupt as I am, and it's just like boom, boom, and we're done. We don't have any,
Right.
there's no drama, but you've got to be self aware, and it's not about you, it's the person
Hmm.
receiving it.
Yeah.
So you've got to have a little bit of empathy when it comes to that person that you're speaking to.
Oops. You do, Sandra, a lot of work with creating those spaces and explaining how to create those safe spaces, especially from the leading first, talking about leaderships. Do you find as you're providing feedback on this one, are there certain things that are consistently coming up that you have to help reemphasize or coach people through?
I think a lot of is what we just talked about on the empathy and the
Okay.
emotional intelligence or social awareness, really understanding how to read the room and how to take that step back and take the temperature down, and focusing on the facts, and just, again, not trying to get wrapped up in all the stuff. I think the
Uh,
emotions at work come from the outside, what's ever going on in the world, what's ever going on in your world, or a lack of confidence. So those are things that I think people need to be a little bit more empathetic towards. Yeah.
And then one of the things we wanted to kind of highlight or talk about is while we are starting to see more diversification, gender, ethnicity, all of that in leadership roles, it is still in many industries primarily males. Where or what do you think is holding back those other gender ethnicities from really fully stepping into leadership?
I think a lot of people don't want the responsibility of other people. Honestly, I think COVID really, really chopped some women off at the knees where they had to return home and, take on that role. So that's been really hard for some women to recover from that. As far as the other genders and ethnicities and things like that, I think there's still a bias. I mean, it's just call a spade a spade.
Mhm.
Sometimes they're may not speak up, or if they have an accent, someone might treat them poorly. There's so many variables for that. I don't think we're there yet. I think it's too bad that we're not there yet. Part of the reason why I went out on my own, because I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. And I'm not
Right.
promoting that for everybody, but I think that if you have that allyship, if you start to build that allyship, people will start to rise because people are going to be together more. If we're still in those silos, there's not going to be that support for so and so should be promoted into this role because everyone's just going to be sitting in their silos. So,
Allyship and the support of each other is
yeah.
still the most important in the way to really bring that to
I was interviewing someone yesterday, and one of the managers, or I'll call it a manager, not a leader. And there's a definite difference. So this manager, very unapproachable, and this was a young professional, and I said, "Are you comfortable, kind of calling out that behavior?" And she's just like, "No, it's not that type of person." And I could feel it. I could feel the fact that she was afraid, of what that pushback would be. And whatever gender, whatever, wherever you are, you've just got to be kind of unafraid, not a jerk, but just unafraid
Yeah.
to be like, that's not okay how you spoke to me, or this is how that affected me. As leaders and as mentors, we've really got to help to coach that up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we are predominantly a woman community. How can those senior women be those better allies to these other women out there who are coming up behind us and to your point are saying like, I just don't want the
Yeah.
headache of being a leader.
Can I be honest? I think so many women try to hold other women down. So I think first we have to be better as women
Mhm.
to not look at other people who are smarter than us or have different ideas. And we've got to be very careful not to crush their spirit. We've got to do a better job of that. If you are one of those women that does lift people up and gives a hand up, it's taking someone under your wing. And if you're in a meeting with them and you know that they want to say something they don't, after that meeting, have a coffee and talk through the scenario and then do a little bit of coaching for the next time. So I think that's really important. We just have to take a little bit of time.
More of the one-on-one or more, okay, that
You
will
know,
help.
you
Yeah.
notice something and you're like,
Yeah.
let's grab some coffee. And then it's like, hey, I noticed this at the meeting and we've had a conversation before about this frustration. And I'm just wondering, what held you back?
Yeah.
And having that conversation and then just doing a little bit of coaching there. So that does a couple of things for that professional. It helps them feel seen and that somebody cared enough to take a half an hour, 45 minutes out of their day to help them.
Yeah. And I'm sure it can be also have a ripple effect, right? Because then this is someone did that for me, let me give back. And then
Hmm.
it becomes this group and this allyship,
Yeah.
really. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's not just for women. I mean, men feel it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, they feel it too. And especially our young leaders coming up, our young men coming up, there's a big transition there for them. So they're trying to be empathetic. They've got the work-life balance thing down, and they're trying to get ahead. But they also see my generation of not so nice bosses, and they don't want to be that.
Mhm.
So we've got to make sure that we're coaching up our young men as well.
So, Sandra, you do a lot of work around learning and development. From your point of view, what really makes that development stick?
Another really good question. So my philosophy, so a lot of times company will do training, and my philosophy is, we train dogs, you develop people. So So you can do a one-hit wonder of a training and that's not going to stick. We can do an 8-hour thing and it's just whatever. The development got to be ongoing. So when we do any kind of professional development program, it is an ongoing program. It's a series. If we're doing an emerging leader series, it'll be a 6-week series. So that way people can learn a skill, try it out, come back, how did it go? Here's another one. And it just, they build upon each other versus being, so it's transformational versus transactional. So I get calls all the time. Hey, can you do a 1-day retreat for us? And I always say, we're just not a one-hit wonder. If that's a kickoff to something more long-term that you want to build, great. But I think people have really got to think about L&D as an ongoing. It's not an expense. It is a way to retain, attract, and just build your profitability if you're investing in your people.
You hit on something I was gonna ask you, and since you talked about emerging leaders, what's that one skill emerging leaders should be developing right now?
Emotional intelligence. How to
That's a
read the
hard
room.
one.
Here's why. Because what we're doing is we're promoting people like, oh, you're so good at XYZ. You should be the next manager. And they get to that role and they have no clue how to deal with people.
No, it's never you're good at reading the room. It's you're good at this
at
skill.
this task, right?
Yeah.
We really need to make sure that our emerging leader program is a hybrid. So it's e-learn live workshops and it's bud to boss, emotional intelligence, difficult conversations. So you've got to kind of teach them all of these things prior to getting them up there. And I always say to people, don't promote the most talented person. You need them in that spot. You want to promote the person that can motivate others the best. You teach them everything else. But if they're a good fit and if they can be a good leader, they don't have to. I mean, I don't know everything in my company and we're thriving, and there's people that know a lot more than I do. That's another mistake that the companies.
But can you teach emotional intelligence? Isn't something that is inside you?
So lots of courses on EQ. And yeah, so is it harder for some than others? Absolutely. Those abrupt people, it's hard, but it is a skill that you absolutely can learn. It does take a little bit of time. It does take a little bit of investment in yourself, but yep, those 4 quadrants on EQ, absolutely. It's a learned skill. Yeah. Yeah.
What are you
No, I'm laughing because I'm like, why do you think it's not? Like, what do you think?
Because I think emotional for me, I thought that you're born with it. Like you have some people that don't have this emotional intelligence. It's just they don't have it. Like they don't think about other people. They don't put themselves in other people. They're good at other things, but they don't have that emotional intelligence.
Right.
I mean, I know some of them.
We're all born with not knowing math and how to read. So like you can.
But yes, but for me, math is facts, right? 1 + 1 is equal 2. Emotional intelligence is more.
Okay, I'm gonna challenge you, Claude, because
but that's perfect. But that's what. But
it's
I
always
love
been
that.
challenging. So
But I love that. I totally love that. That's why we have conversation.
Yeah. So let me become your work bestie. There's empathy that people. You can't really teach empathy.
Yeah.
And that's that part of you that will reach out to care for somebody. When it comes to emotional intelligence, there's a 4 quadrant skill that if you want to, you can learn it, but you have to have the desire to want to. So there'll be some people that are like, I'm not going to learn that. I don't care. Yeah, you're right. You're not going to be able to upskill them. But if someone comes to you and says, you know what, I know that I'm not coming across well. I know that I'm not doing what I need to do and that I've got a huge amount of turnover and it's on me. I don't know what to do. They can learn EQ. And there's lots of courses out there to do that.
So I might be mixing empathy with emotional intelligence. So you said the 4 quadrants. What are those?
The 4 quadrants are the self-awareness, where you understand who you are and how you are. I'm not a very empathetic person. I understand that about myself. Self-management. When you're in a situation, hey, I have a hot temper. I pop off pretty quickly. I know that. I know how to manage that emotion and those triggers that come to me. That's the 2nd quadrant. Social awareness, I can read the room. I understand where there's tension coming. I can see when someone looks frustrated. and I'm going to work on learning how to read other people before I react to other people. And then that relationship management is the fourth quadrant. And that's where, you focus on how much I am relating to those. It's definitely skills that you can learn.
Yeah. So I was totally mixing empathy with emotional
Okay.
intelligence.
We teased this question in the very beginning. Your perspective. How do we practice everyday allyship at work, especially thinking about
I really think that peer to peer, we can spend a little bit more time getting to know people that we don't know and touching base with people and understanding. I think in this day and age, understand that people are going through a lot personally, and the world is difficult right now. So just providing a friendly hand, a smile. And if you're a virtual team, doing some touch bases, just doing a quick check-in on Teams or Slack or whatever it is that you use. But just doing some reach out. And also, I think the other thing is everybody has their job, but if you're able to help somebody out outside of your work, outside of your daily thing, and you've got a little bit of time, offer it.
Yeah. My big takeaway from this one is carving out time weekly to make sure that I'm having those connects with individuals across all the different areas of my life as far as that. I think that's so smart. It's something we always quickly put to the side and say I don't have time, but it is so important.
Yeah.
On both
And doing it with intention. We have a midday momentum. So every day at 3:00, 3 to 3:15, we just pop on the channel because like I said, we're global. So we pop on the channel every single day. How's your day going? What's going on? Do you need help with anything? It just reduces the bottleneck and reduces any friction building up throughout the week. So I think there's a lot of things that people can do. They just got to do it with
That's a really
intention.
cute idea.
Every day,
3 to 3:15. Everyone's on Teams.
that's so cool.
We have a core channel we're all on, and someone initiates the call, everybody pops on. And we solve a lot of issues that way too, because someone could be stuck on something. They're like, I
Right.
need access to this, and it's quickly done. So it just reduces friction that builds up through the week.
That's a really smart idea.
And that shows again this group and this allyship make it even stronger. They know each
Yep.
other.
They do. And they care about each other, and they all wanted, like me as a CEO, I'm sharing my vision, I'm sharing my adventure, the stuff that I'm doing. And so they know me really well. But they also understand where the vision is for the company, and they all work together to get there. So if someone's proofreading something and it's not correct, they don't take offense when that person is like, this isn't right. There's no offense taken. It's everyone
Right.
knows
Yeah.
that we're all shooting for the same thing. So
Of course.
it's really good.
That last example reminds us that allyship is really not the big, huge gestures. It's the small things that matter and the communication, keeping people connected, making sure they're aware of the company's overarching themes of what we want to work for. It seems so simple to say it, but just to be reminded of it. So I appreciate it.
And what I really loved about your vision is the emotional intelligence, being there, listening to people and helping each other. And at the end, it's people are going to be proud to really work in a place like that.
So work besties out there, we hope you liked this episode. Please share amongst your friends, share back with us what you liked, what you're working on, any other tips that you may have. And we do encourage you to branch outside of your work besties and create other peer mentors and really help this small momentum grow. But with that, keep supporting each other. Bye.
Thank you.
Remember, whether you're swapping snacks in the break room, rescuing each other from endless meetings, or just sending that perfectly timed meme, having a work bestie is like having your own personal hype squad.
So keep lifting each other up, laughing through the chaos, and of course, thriving. Until next time, stay positive, stay productive, and don't forget to keep supporting each other.